once that trailer moved forward far enough, it was going to drop down to that point. It was anyway going to move anymore, because that's what it did. I guess what, and actually Chief Hackney kind of asked the question, when you came up, the trailer was on the hood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because there are a couple different patterns here. Of course, you get at least two by the trailer going backwards and by the trailer going forward. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But when you came up, the trailer was still on the hood, and then at some point it dropped into that position. Do you know when that happened?
Can we go back to the picture of the diagram of the cars, the police cars? As I'm coming around, I'm looking at this. I look forward to make sure I'm okay to run this way. And I look back, and I don't know what time it dropped down. If it dropped down and got stuck, I don't know. When I got out of my car at my hood, which was almost parallel to Officer Doherty's car, the trailer was on the hood of the car going back and forth.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the take him out with a gun coming in? Where were you when you gave that?
I believe I was in my car coming to a stop. Take him out with a gun.
And were the two officers approaching the car, or were they already engaged with it?
Officer Doherty was further up than Officer Homequest. As soon as I said that, Officer Doherty with a little small flashlight in his hand, and he hit the window and busted instantly. I've never seen that. In 19 years, I've never seen somebody break that window that quick with a small flashlight. And then Officer Homequest was coming out, I believe, from this direction right here.
Okay. So you said that on the radio because you were just driving up in your car?
Yes, right. I believe
Did you give that command again after you got out to them? Or
no, sir, I didn't, because they were already engaged, and I said if they could extract him through this window, the pull his foot off the accelerator, this would be over.
Did you consider using your taser when you got up there?
No, sir, I considered it, but the taser wasn't going to do any good, because the foot on the accelerator was a problem. I considered using pepper spray. That's not going to do it, because his foot's on the accelerator. I considered all that, even though this is a deadly force situation. From the time I got out of my car to the time I got around here, I considered every option, putting a car here and blocking him in with a threat backwards, extracting her. I considered all that. And the only option I felt, the only way we could do it is if A, they couldn't immediately extract him, I was going to use deadly force.
Okay, thanks. I don't have anything else.
Sergeant Carey, you made the statement early on in your testimony that you have a little bit of knowledge of trailers and lawn equipment, and then you guesstimated the weight of that trailer to be 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. How do you have that knowledge?
I've had a landscape business for 15 years.
So, I mean, you're used to seeing those kinds of trailers?
I know for a fact that anything over 2,000 pounds, you can't get a homemade trailer tag. And this trailer obviously had a tag on it. And the lawnmower, I was just guessing, the lawnmower, 0 turns are usually heavier than the regular lawnmower.
When you say 0 turn, is that a sitting front lawnmower or standing lawnmower?
It's a sitting lawnmower, big wheels on the side, and the 2 joystick handles. And that's what it appeared to be when it popped out right in front of me, probably maybe 30 feet. I could see the truck and trailer plain as day right in front of me when it popped out from Winford to Loretta. So
you guesstimated the weight of that trailer and the lawn equipment on the hood of that car to be 2,000 to 3,000 pounds?
I knew it was heavier than a normal trailer.
That's all. Any follow-up questions?
Okay. Yeah, probably just stick to it. There's just one. So now, the training issues that you see.
Just in some of the testimony, I guess the board's already well aware. You'll probably need to look at pursuit types of things as well as the incident itself. They're testifying that the vehicle's moving, so obviously the moving vehicle policy, I would think, would be applicable for y'all.
Okay, and Mr. Moss, we have a letter from the state attorney's office that says that it's within state statute. Do you have anything to add to that?
Right, it's the same as the last situation. The state attorney's office already determines within state statute within Florida determination for the act for the DSO policy and training.
All right, with that, we'll go into executive session, talk about, just give a little summary of what we got, and then we'll talk about the issues we'll talk about.
Okay, on 12/14/2009, Neil Southerland was accused of damaging an acquaintance's vehicle after a dispute with his girlfriend. As officers were on their way to the scene, they saw Southerland's truck and trailer and attempted to contact him during a traffic stop. Mr. Southerland fled from the police in his truck, disregarding traffic laws and displaying signs of impairment. After abruptly stopping, he intentionally backed his trailer into a marked police car. Again, he fled in his vehicle until he again came to a sudden stop. This time he backed with such force that it caused the trailer to drive up onto the hood of the police car, coming within inches of the windshield. As he tried to flee again, the trailer became caught on the push bumper of the police car. Officers attempted to pull him out of the car and take him into custody, but he actively resisted and continued to try to flee in his vehicle. Fearing for the safety of the officers and the civilian inside the police car and potential for escape, Sergeant Carey made the decision to use deadly force to stop the continued threat that he perceived. Mr. Southerland died as a result of the conflict.
Okay. I'll let you start off with the issues that you see with this entire event, and we'll talk about it.
The issues, as far as the initiation of the police vehicle pursuit, I have questions about the reasonableness of initiating such a pursuit with the limited information that they had based on the 911 call on the criminal mischief and the questionable driving pattern with pulling a trailer that's that heavy and trying to flee from the police is going to result in the trailers moving back and forth, so I'm not sure about the justification for the initial pursuit. However, the suspect's actions after that and him assaulting the police officer with his vehicle and the trailer multiple times can certainly, weigh in on what Sergeant Carey knew at the time of the incident in his perspective of whether he was going to use deadly force or not.
Chief Cookie.
A couple issues that I wanted to really touch on. The issues with the pursuit, it's kind of a beauty in the eye of the beholder, if you will, as those officers who were there making that judgment call with traffic at the time of day and what they're observing to make that decision on pursuit. Obviously, pursuing a criminal mischief suspect isn't advisable under policy or allowed under policy. When we start throwing in the variables of the weaving and the time of day, I think it could be argued enough that pursuit would be at least allowable at some point in time. I have some issues with the extraction. We've had many cases throughout this agency. One that towards the end of last year in October, where deadly force was needed to be used because two officers attempted to extract a driver from a car, got hung up in the car, and then deadly force had to be used at that point in time. So the officers that are involved here, if they're not fully aware of the risks that are associated with it, as a supervisor, it's our responsibility to when they're not looking out for themselves, to look out for them. So I think that's something that's relative in this case. And then I personally think that, and again, it's a judgment call, but the ability to remove the civilian observer from the car, the benefit of taking her out of harm's way and getting the officers out of the areas they're trying to extract, it would have de-escalated the immediate need for it. But again, the judgment falls on the officer and what they knew at the time, what they saw at the time, and I think we've kind of seen what Sergeant Carey saw at the time. So.
Okay, we heard the radio transmissions and could see the timeline, and I would agree that while adequate justification for the pursuit probably wasn't given on the radio, Sergeant and/or Lieutenant probably could have gotten on there a little sooner and a half. I would also take into consideration that it was 2:30 in the morning with very little traffic. This is quite obviously the suspect that they're looking for the criminal mischief. There's a truck on a trailer with law equipment on it at 2:30 in the morning. From the officer's testimony, first they thought the car was that vehicle was going to go somewhere, and pull over. So the first part of it was that. And then, you know, shortly after that, I started exhibiting other signs and then actually back into the police car. So I don't have that big of an issue with the pursuit. There probably could have been a little better communication on that. The extraction, I'm kind of in the same place with Chief Hackney on that. The officers need to be considering what they're doing and what that danger is, because any of us have been around here a while, know that people have gotten hurt that way. As far as Sergeant Carey's response to the resistance that was given at the scene, I have to admit, when I first heard this, I was a little concerned about the fact that there were officers up their hands-on, and they should have been given an opportunity to get the guy out of the car, but after listening to it and having everybody testify to the fact that Mr. Southerland was actively trying to move that car, whether it was on the hood, whether it was attached to the push bumper, I don't think it really matters at this point. It obviously went onto the hood. There's very clear evidence that it went onto the hood, also testimony that it went onto the hood. He was trying to get the car loose. So having two officers trying to extract somebody that's actively trying to leave is not a good idea. So I think actually it was probably a good decision to move the officers away from there. You know, it's unfortunate, but you have a suspect in this case of a couple, 3 or 4 different crimes here who's almost 4 times the legal limit with alcohol. That continued to resist, and I think the response to that resistance by Sergeant Carey was actually appropriate. So with that, we can vote unless somebody has something else that they want to argue. Okay. On the first category, weapon malfunction, well, I'll show a 5-0 vote no, and whether the shots were intentional, I'll show a 5-0 vote yes, based on the testimony that was given. Whether this was within written directives, Chief Smith?
Yes.
Chief Cook?
Yes.
Lieutenant Taylor?
Yes.
Chief Hackney? Yes. I'll vote yes as well. Within Florida state statutes, I'll show a 5-0 vote not applicable. We already have a letter from the state attorney saying that it is. The response to resistance in accordance with training, Chief Smith?
Yes.
Chief Cook?
Yes.
Lieutenant Taylor?
Yes.
Chief Hackney? Yes. I vote yes as well. Additional issues, Chief Smith?
Yes. Communication, training, and tactics. I think the pursuit and the extraction techniques need to be looked at, and perhaps some training done with yourself, your squad, on what to do in situations like this. So,
Chief Cook?
I actually have a little bit of issue with the pursuit, although I think it's been explained. But training and tactics and communication.
Lieutenant Taylor? Chief Hackney?
Yeah, I would like to see just Sergeant Carey's squad have the ability to cover some of the tactics and training associated with the risk involved in training.
And I vote yes as well for training tactics and some better communication. Board members' findings, Chief Smith?
further training.
Chief Cook?
Further training required.
Lieutenant Taylor?
No further action.
Okay.
Further training required.
And I'll vote further training as well. Sergeant Carey, you heard the votes. Sorry, I got that totally up. You heard the votes here. The board's proceedings here will be summarized in a summary that will be forwarded to the sheriff. These are just a recommendation to the sheriff. He makes the final decision. Once he gets this and reviews it, he'll make that decision, and I'll notify you as to what that is.
Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned.